Do you love Costco? I love Costco so much they made me a member of their executive team. But unfortunately, since I live in a household of 2, it's not always practical to shop at a place that believes a reasonable quantity of toilet paper looks like this. Before you ask, why didn't I get a smaller one? This is the smaller one. So when I'm not at Costco, you can find me spending time with my other lover.
Are these stores?
Yeah.
How do you make love to a store?
How do I make love to a store? Ravenously. Do you love Trader Joe's? I love Trader Joe's so much I got kicked out of the store for trying to film there.
No camera inside, sir.
No camera inside! So you can imagine my curiosity when I noticed that my 2 favorite stores each sell wine under their own in-house brand. So I just had to know, Costco versus Trader Joe's, who has the best Cabernet Sauvignon? By the way, I'm Dustin. I make wine videos for non-wine people. And if you're new here, howdy. In total, I came away with 7 Cabernets at 3 different price points. So to make things as apples to apples as possible, we're gonna conduct 3 rounds of blind tastings, 1 for each price point. And of course, we'll serve all of the wines as the good Lord intended, cellar temperature and glassware, made of fine crystal. Are you ready? Let's get to work. Okay, before we get started, it's clear we're doing a Costco versus Trader Joe's thing. I feel like people have some pretty strong opinions about which one is closer to their heart. Can you just let me know which of these stores do you prefer? Are you a Costco kid or are you a Trader Joe's hoe? I'm so sorry. I don't mean to be crude. I just can't help myself. And it's funny, the entire idea of people being Trader Joe's hoes, of which I don't want to say I would count myself in that category because I also identify as a Costco kid. But yeah, let's just talk about it in the compliments. Likes and subscribes. Everyone do it. All right, let's cut to brass tacks here. What is the likelihood that a stellar $5 Cabernet Sauvignon exists at Trader Joe's or Costco? As your wine guy, it's just improbable. So in the sake of that delicious conflict stacking, like where are we going? Why continue watching? Because we have a single vineyard Napa Valley Cabernet Sauvignon coming up from Costco. I mean, those are the words that we're looking for when it comes to quality wine. Okay, so let's get into this. We're gonna figure out which one's best. But right in front of us, these are the wines that cost underneath $10. There's 3. Trader Joe's happen to have 2 wines available underneath $10. And I know this is a tragedy. The Trader Joe's I went to here in Austin, Texas, had no $2 chuck available. None, like at least no Cabernet Sauvignons. So I think we know though. Now granted, we're gonna revisit it. We're gonna put $2 chuck in here at some point, but we can imagine it will be the worst one, right? I will say right off the bat, you'll notice one in particular, I'll let you take a second, looks a bit more watery, or at least not as rich, right? This, pretty rich. It's dark, it's concentrated. This looks very dark and concentrated, almost, a little bit inky. This honestly looks like they poured water into it. I would not describe this as the look of Cabernet Sauvignon, and yet the bottle of whichever one this belongs to did in fact say Cabernet Sauvignon. So my money is on this one being the poo-poo one. That's just my eyeballs talking right now. So let's get this thing started here. Oh man, God, that sucks. I mean, that is, oh God, that smells like just hot. Imagine, these are, by the way, at cellar temperature. They're 57 degrees. This somehow smells like the concept of heat. Okay, this is actually a lot more interesting to smell than that. This, pure heat and death. This totally messages like a fruitier wine. Something very approachable and drinkable. It kind of has like a, I know, this is wine videos for non-wine people, and I promise that's really what we're trying to do here. But there is a type of wine in France called Beaujolais Nouveau, and this is a wine that isn't aged. It's a Gamay. It's just light, it's fruity. It's meant to be drank immediately, which is kind of the opposite of most wines, right? Like, we age wines, we try to find more characteristics come out over time. That is not the purpose of Beaujolais Nouveau. It's meant to be drank immediately, and there's festivals in this appellation, this area, this community that around this wine. It's cool, it's really cool. And if you haven't had one, they sell them basically everywhere, most supermarkets, all that stuff. They're $10 and they're great. This smells like that, which is a great sign because those wines are really pretty and fun. They're not like hyper complex, but they're cool. That also look like interesting already. Oh, maybe it's not filled with water. And this one, the one that I would say that has the most concentration, the one that looks the most concentrated. Okay. Ooh. Oh, that's lovely. That actually smells really good. These are all under $10 and already we have 2 kind of interesting ones. This just smells pretty. Honestly, imagine closing your eyes and then you're just smelling something and the only word you can really use is pretty. That's that. It's very pretty. Okay, let's do it in this order. Here we go. This one smelled like hot. Okay, I've let that settle my palate, and the only thing I can say about it is that I really don't like it. Now, I don't hate it. Like, that is a D every day of the week. It just sucks. If it was free at a wedding, sure, I guess I'd have a glass, but that tastes like a headache. Whatever that feeling of like, oh, this wine's gonna give me a headache, it tastes like a headache. Okay, let's go to this pretty looking one. The quasi, maybe it is just Beaujolais Nouveau, and maybe whoever manufactured this one just made a mistake. I'll let you know as best I can. All right. It's okay. It's okay. No awards shall be won for this particular wine, I promise you. It's okay at best. I mean, listen, I'm gonna give this a D because it sucks, honestly. I know it's better than this, and it's like, but Dustin, how can that be a D and then this also be a D? Well, because there's kind of like a range inside the D, right? Like, there's a range. There's a sizable range inside the D. You know, just because this one's a worse D doesn't mean that this isn't still a D. It's just a worse D. This also tastes like a headache, and honestly, it's a D because I don't want to taste it anymore, like really at all. Yeah. Okay, the final one. This one smelled pretty. Also, not boding well for these cheap wines so far, so you might not be finding a bargain today. Yeah, it still smells pretty. I mean, like, it's the best of the three, for sure. Like, we're not building a lot of tension here, so this is for sure the best of the three. It's pretty disappointing, though. Like, it's not good. Like, I'm gonna give it a weak C. Like, I'm being a little generous with that, for sure. Like, I would expect to pay no more than $10 for a wine of this quality. We know that they're all under 10, it's appropriately priced. It just doesn't taste like a headache, which is a positive thing, but it tastes old. It's a weak C, as it would be. This is for sure the best. Now we're at a proper face-off, like a true versus here. So one of these is a Costco wine, the other is a Trader Joe's wine, and we are in that middle part of the hamburger. We're in the $10 to $15 range. What was interesting about these two is that they were really, really evenly matched from a words standpoint. And what I mean is that they are both Alexander Valley Sonoma Cabernet Sauvignon. So Alexander Valley is a sub-region. Sonoma, y'all probably have heard of it. It's next to Napa Valley. It's the second most prolific wine region in California. Awesome wines. These really evenly matched. Only one of them was a little bit cheaper. I think the Costco one was a touch cheaper. Let's see how they smell. Ugh. That smells a little cardboardy. That could be cork rot, but it's a little bit cork rot. Like, it's a little bit cardboardy. Like, there's not a lot cardboard. It just kind of, there's wine in there too. I don't know. That's not very interesting, but let's see how this one's doing. Way better. Okay, way more interesting. Fruity, like a little bit of complexity there in the nose. Of the two already, I'm like, oh, I kind of want a little bit of that one. But we've seen that belie the truth in the past. So let's dive in and drink this cardboard wine. You ready? Okay, it doesn't taste like cardboard. That's not experiencing any sort of issue with the cork. A cork taint is an issue that can occur that might cause the wine essentially to spoil due to a bacterial infection. Yeah, that's not occurring here at all. This is the problem with non-completely blind tastings. Like, I'm aware that these cost between $10 to $15. And I also know that they're from Costco and Trader Joe's, which has like a lot of background to that for me. So with all of that baggage, this is pretty good. And it's like a little sour and cloying. I still feel like we need to call this a weak C. So I wouldn't expect to pay more than $10 for a wine of this quality, which doesn't bode well considering it's in the $10 to $15 category. Probably not a value. These are surprisingly similar. Now, you might be thinking, but Dustin, of course they're similar. They're both from Alexander Valley in Sonoma. Yeah, I hear you. As my friend Mike would say, you're not wrong. But that's not always the most reliable indicator of taste, right? There's examples of vineyards that are literally next to one another, growing the same grapes. Cabernet on this side of the line and Cabernet on this, but they don't really taste like one another. It could be due to a number of factors. The winemaking process could be just due to their viticultural practices and the way that they're actually farming that land. So it doesn't always really work that way, but these really do taste pretty similar, almost to the point where you could make an argument that they're the same. Now they're not, I promise you they're not, because this one is better. It tastes a little bit more rounded, so the flawed characteristics of it just aren't as present. So it's a solid C, right? So I would expect to pay between $10 to $12 for a wine of this quality, which again, by definition means it's probably not that much of a value. I don't know if you should buy Cabernet Sauvignon yet at Costco or Trader Joe's. I'm just not certain of that. I know it seems like I'm doing this for me, like, oh my God, it's just an excuse for Dustin to drink in his house, maybe potentially during work hours. It's not, I promise. It's for you. It always will be for you. And I promise you, so far, I don't think you should probably buy any of these. They're not values, and that's the whole point. We should be striving to find values. These are at best hitting where they are, which means like, why not try something better? But that might change. We've got something really cool coming up. So we've got the single vineyard Cabernet Sauvignon coming up from Costco, which is really interesting because wines that cost hundreds of dollars per bottle would describe themselves that way too. The Trader Joe's one does not say those words. It just says Napa Valley Cabernet. By the way, it does not mean one will be better, but it's interesting that one of them has the potential for pedigree in the hundreds of dollars of quality. Woo! Oh baby, I am so excited. Like what if one of these wines tastes as good as wines that cost $100 a bottle? That would be genuinely quacktastic. My wife, when we watched my first video together, she said, I like that you said quacktastic in the video. I don't know why I started to say quacktastic, but there's absolutely quacktastic potential here. So I think we need to be excited about that. So I am. All right, let's get into this. Stop stalling, Dustin. Okay, that doesn't smell like a $100 bottle of wine. Really kind of doesn't smell like much, if I'm honest. Like, it's unmistakably red wine, but I couldn't describe another note in it, and that's not for lack of trying. But again, we've seen countless times, and we'll see it countless times again, that that is not the whole story when it comes to the end result. Numero dos. Oh, this one is way more interesting. Whoa, okay. This one has like tobacco. By the way, let me just zoom in here. Why would we get all horny for wine smelling like tobacco? Like, is that positive? The truth is, it's so predominant when it's present, and when it's managed well, it adds this like beautiful complexity that frankly, like reminiscent of why people do smoke cigars. Like, I've smoked a few cigars, it's not really for me. One, don't know how to do it, and so I just inhale a bunch of the smoke, and then I feel like shit. Two, your mouth becomes, it's like it's been lashed with sandpaper. Like I'm just like, I hate it. I wake up in the morning and I'm like, it just doesn't go away. That sucks. So why would I want my wine to taste like that? Well, because I get to have that bit of the cigar smoking experience that is pleasurable, earthy, buzzy note without that shitty feeling of my mouth being cut up by sandpaper. It actually becomes really pleasurable. And so I promise when I say that, it's a good thing. And hey, before we find out which of these wines takes the cake, right, is the fucking king of Costco versus Trader Joe's, the top dogs, I just wanted to take a moment to ask, it's a brand new channel. I was so excited today when I got my second subscriber. I can't tell you what it means to put yourself out there and connect with the world in a new way. And I'm really thankful, even if it's just 2 are signed up for more. If this in any way is interesting to you, I just want to ask if you might consider liking the video and even more subscribing. You clicking subscribe is so meaningful to me. You can imagine not cheap to do all this stuff. And so I just wanna keep doing it. And so your support will help me do that. Thank you so much. Okay, I like this fine. I think ultimately there's this concept in wine making, which is concentration. Literally, how concentrated are the flavors? In other words, like how much water is in there? Said differently, how much of this is grapes versus water? They do add water. Water is a huge part of winemaking. By adding less water, you need to use more grapes to fill the same bottle size, right? So this actually tastes pretty good. It tastes like what red wine tastes like, but it does taste more sophisticated. It has like 2 layers of red wine. It's kind of interesting, a little seductive. I like it, but boy, it just isn't very concentrated. And so there's nothing to muse about. Could this be really like fine while you're sitting on the couch on a Tuesday night? Totally. For all that, I'm gonna say this is a strong C. To that end, I would expect to pay between $12 and $15 for a bottle for a wine of this quality, and yet we know it costs at least 15, so I probably wouldn't recommend you try it. Don't disappoint me. You smelled so good, don't do it. Ooh. That's better, for sure. Interestingly, it has the exact same problem as this wine, which is that it lacks concentration. It literally just tastes a bit watery. But on the positive side, of which there are many, it has so much more going on. Boy, it has like the most buzzy, fun tannic structure. Like your mouth is literally just happy. It's just like, what are we doing here? Like, what is this? And it's just like, we're having fun. It makes me wanna like buzz my tongue. It's earthy, but still fruity and approachable. And it has that tinge of tobacco smoke. It's really exciting to drink this wine. I like it. It's better than this. It's better enough to warrant going to the next tier, which makes this a weak B. It's a weak B. I mean, you could definitely do better in this world. Obviously, I don't know which is which. My hunch though is that this is the single vineyard one because you can taste an expression of land. Like there's something in it. This tastes so homogenous that it would shock the hell out of me. This wouldn't be the first time actually that I was certain about what a wine was and was completely wrong. And so if you're interested in seeing that, let me put a fucking link somewhere for you. So this just tastes homogenous. It tastes as if it came from a really, really expertly produced or created like manufacturing process and supply chain, sophisticated supply chain. I like it. It's just not really crossing into the line of fine wine. This puts a big toe in it, which is kind of exciting, but I ultimately can't recommend it because this is a weak B, and so I'd expect to pay between $15 to $20 for a wine of this quality. And so with that, it's just clearly correctly priced.